Yeah, champagne pop. You know what it is, I gotta say something. Fine dining with the best time. Scottsdale on the rocks, gotta keep it locked in. Nobody do it better, tell me who does. That's how we do it, the way that it go. Hanging with the bros, can't never get low. I know you didn't know, so I had to let you know it's fire. It's great, feel it inside, memories made. Fun times can never be a mistake. Had a great night, make you feel like you made. That was crazy. Had the best time that you ever had in your life. Yeah, Scottsdale, Arizona.
Today we got a hell of a guest. We have Mr. Travis, known as the Nomad Cook. He's a cannabis infused chef right here from Arizona. He's a Canadian, and we're glad to have him on the show. So welcome, Travis.
Hey.
Hell yeah, brother.
How's it
All
going? Thanks for having me.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah. So I am a cannabis chef. I started cooking with cannabis in 2018. That's when Canada federally legalized the plant. So I was just going to do it the one time. I turned my house into a little pop-up restaurant during the 420 weekend. And since that date, I've done nothing but cook with cannabis. So
Nice.
yeah.
So how did you get into that specifically? Was there like a particular moment that you're just like, all right, he like went off the light or something?
Yeah, I mean, there was a cannabis chef from LA, Chef Chris Soleil, goes by the name The Herbal Chef. He came up to Canada in March 2018, and he did 2 cannabis dinners, one in Toronto, one in LA. They had him on the front page of a local newspaper that I saw at a bus stop. And my original thought was, why isn't a Canadian doing this first in Canada? Right. And so I, at that point, was like, okay, I'm going to do a cannabis dinner. Like, I'd always used cannabis. It was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
But I'd never done any infusions or anything. So turned my house into a little pop-up restaurant, and we sold 164 tickets. So I had
The first dinner.
first weekend. Yeah. So we were doing 5 seatings of 12 a day for 4 days, flipping the table every 2 hours, 12 more strangers coming in.
Interesting.
And the local news heard about it.
So you were already a chef.
Yeah, I mean, I've took a very different path to get here. I actually worked in the oil and gas industry for 12 years. So 2015, I, on a Friday afternoon, found the application for MasterChef, the TV show.
Yeah.
Sorry, my headphones are falling off. So I ended up filling out that application. I thought, hey, it's 4:00. This will take me an hour to fill out, and then I can go home for the weekend. And on Monday, got a call from MasterChef saying, we'd like you to...
They just wanted to bring an oil and gas guy on?
Well, so MasterChef's all about home cooks.
Okay.
Right? So they, take people from all different walks of life.
So were you always into cooking before?
Always into cooking. I moved out when I was 15. So
Okay.
at a very young age. And, very quickly learned 3 dishes that I could make. Tacos, lasagna, and, the simple stuff. But just over the years, I loved cooking. For me, it was the time of day I'd come home, turn the phone off, smoke a joint, and just be in the kitchen for an hour, and then cooking for people, whether it was friends, a date. I always just loved, it was kind of the way I showed love.
Awesome.
In that. So, but it was never something I said I want to be a chef.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting, just accidentally falling in. Well, not really accidentally, but
How did MasterChef?
like you just loved it because you were doing it before that.
Well, so, and this is why I think it was almost fate or meant to be is, so I got to MasterChef and I bombed. I got eliminated on the second episode. Had a whole 3 minutes and 26 seconds of airtime, and was like, that was a cool experience. And, I've got this great career to go back to. I went back to it and I got laid off 3 weeks later. So there was a recession in the oil industry in 2015, and they gave me a 6-month severance package. So had that not happened, I never would have tried this. But I'm like, you know what? I got 6 months. MasterChef's going to premiere. Yeah. Let's go for it. And I kind of had the job society said you want to get to the 6 figures, the vacation, the golf. Right? I was in the office side of things. I wasn't in the patch or anything.
Yeah.
I had a very giant hole in me. Right? And I tried everything in life to fill that hole, like everything. Right.
Yeah.
And I was very unfulfilled in certain areas. And, when I made the decision to take the chef thing, give a crack at it, the first thing I had to do was check the ego and my pride.
Yeah.
Because I had to move out of my house and go stay with friends for a first year, because I went from 6 figures to 35 grand in the first year, right?
Yeah. You're like, God damn it.
But very quickly, that giant hole started feeling full.
Yeah.
Right. And I was having lots of fun. I got an amazing opportunity at the end of the first year of doing it to cook for someone. And it was just like, I almost felt like there were little breadcrumbs along the way that kept me going. And, I do that first cannabis dinner. The local news comes and they were like, hey, we want to do a story about, and I'm like, yeah, I'll go on the news and talk about this illegal thing that I'm doing out of my house. Sure. And they're like, don't worry, it's only going on the local news. So CTV, which is like CBS here in America, and it airs on the local news. It's a 5-minute piece. And part of it is they go to Health Canada for a quote. And Health Canada's like, this is not legal.
Oh my God.
So I was kind of like, uh-oh, what did I do?
Yeah.
I turned my phone off because it blew up from every news agency in the country. And then all of a sudden, they aired it on the national. So it went from the local news to national. It blew up. I didn't really get in any trouble. And so all of a sudden, I had emails like, hey, would you come to Edmonton and do this? Would you come to Calgary? So I would rent Airbnbs.
So is cannabis legal in Canada? Or
Yeah. So at the time, this was still 4 months before we federally legalized.
Okay.
But even though it's legal now, I mean, culinary cannabis is kind of in this gray zone. They don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. I was kind of curious about it myself,
Yeah.
like what the legality is in terms of offering it.
I'm pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
I go about it in certain ways. We keep our locations private, age gated, and I've got a lot of rules, like no peer pressure. And it's just, we're trying to change minds.
Because you don't want someone to freak out and go to the hospital. That'll cause trouble for you.
No, when I first started, when I was first learning, there was a couple over consumptions happening, a couple of people being overdosed, and it took a while. Now I'm extremely confident with what I'm doing. I've served over 20,000 people now since I first started doing this. So it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah, you'd have to be confident. It's kind of a nail biter. You're kind of a dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's
well, it's kind of private party type thing is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So so I guess
it's a very gray area, but it's extremely, I think, chill. I don't think anyone would ever bug you about it.
We're my reluctancy, I didn't want to be called a cannabis chef at first, right? Because I was like, this is probably going to be a fad. We're legalizing cannabis. Everything's like weed.
Yeah.
Right. And then it will fizzle out to like a young 20-year-old males who want to do this. Now, my average age is 39 and I'm 60% female.
Interesting.
So with close to 900 first-time cannabis users. So I drank the Kool-Aid of like stereotypes of what edibles were. Right. And what sold me on this as a cuisine was, we sell tickets. That's all strangers coming in, sitting at that table. Time and time again, people who have nothing in common are trading phone numbers at the end of the night. Hey, let's go grab a drink. And I just saw something very special. We have never once had one guest get out of control or, you just think people drinking and that at the end of the night, sometimes it's hard to get people to leave. And cannabis people are like, let's go to 7-Eleven. Right? They're all chill. It's just such a beautiful group of people to serve. And, right now it's kind of the most sought after dining experience and no one knows how to get to it.
Well, 20,000 guests, you got to have a story or two. Anyone get a little out of control, pass out, get too inebriated?
Well, yeah. I mean, so the one time I bent my rules with alcohol was also the last time that I allowed it, right?
So there's no alcohol at any of your events?
No. If you hire me to come in your house, it's your private dinner with your friends. Listen, I'll follow what you want, right? But when I'm doing my pop-ups, I've got all strangers in there. So what I say to people is like, measure the two experiences against each other.
Yeah.
See how you feel when you wake up tomorrow, right? Listen, I like to drink and smoke a joint every now and then, but this is a cannabis dinner. I've just been really firm.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to enjoy it pure.
Makes it more controlled as well.
So I used to rent the penthouse of the Palms in Vegas, and I would turn that into my restaurants.
Cost? You do it on an off night?
No, so what I do is after I find an owner, I usually would cut Airbnb out. So just befriend the owner. This is who I am. This is what I do.
You're a cowboy over here.
I'll come cook for you or something, right? So we found a spot that, the cool Palms that has the hot tub on the balcony. And so we would set these dinners up and we're getting the dinner going. There's 4 seats that are missing. And then all of a sudden I get the call, hey, we're downstairs. You need to come get us. So I go down, and there's 2 guys, 2 girls, wasted, 2 drinks in their hand. And I'm like, you're not coming in.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And someone comes up behind me and goes, he's a buyer for 8 stores here in Las Vegas.
Oh my gosh.
Which is like one of the most important people you can really connect with.
Of course it's that person.
Right. And so, like, against my better will, I was like, okay, come up. Right. So they come up. By the second course, his girlfriend had her head in the plate. And so I kicked them out. I'm like, people spent $250 each to be here at this dinner. Some people, this is their first time doing cannabis ever. They're nervous and they're looking over at you 4 who are a mess.
Yeah.
So
it's not a good look for you either, you know? So
no, you know, I have nothing but an uphill battle.
Yeah.
You know, so every little thing that goes wrong just sets us back. But every successful dinner we've had has just moved the needle that much more forward.
Yeah.
You know, I work with the Soho House, and we host these dinners, their properties all over the U.S.
Where all is there a Soho House? I know there's one in Brooklyn and L.A.
So I do Miami, Austin, Nashville, Toronto, Portland just opened.
What a connect.
Last year, I got to go do their European properties.
You go into the Soho House and do it?
Yeah. It's for their members only, right? So we've done Miami at least 6 times now, Austin 3 times, Portland once, Nashville once. But last September or October, I got the opportunity to go to their European properties. So we did Amsterdam first, and then
How nice is Amsterdam Soho House?
All the Soho houses in Europe
nice.
they're very small, right? You go to the American properties, they're a lot bigger, but that's just Europe. Everything's small in Europe, right? So it was cool. We went Amsterdam, London, Brighton, and then we finished in Paris. And
that's probably a fun trip.
It was amazing. So, you know, when I got the opportunity, my wife was like, do I get to come? And I said, this is a work trip, but if you come as my sous chef, I don't think the hotel would, you know, have any problems with that. So I got her a uniform, and she came and she helped me do all the prep. Now, those were tough because, for one, some of those places I'd never been to. So where was I going to get my ingredients from?
Yeah.
Right? So I actually reached out to a guy at High Times magazine, one of their chief editors, and said,
interesting.
Can you find me a plug in London and Paris? And he's like, go check your WhatsApp, and like that made an intro.
Outstanding.
But get this, so we get to London, and I'm like, okay, I got to go to this spot, right? And they give me an address, and it's in this like commercial warehouse area. And I show up, and there's a cop outside the door trying to get in. Now I got my Gucci sunglasses, my satchel on. I do not look like someone who should be in this area right now. I just like keep walking by, and I like sit in this park for 40 minutes, and I was like, fuck, what am I supposed to do here? And the cop leaves, right? And I go back and go in, and they're like, oh yeah, the cops come and try and knock us down all the time. And I was like, I'm quickly gonna get what I need and goodbye.
Wow.
So
I mean, that was interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely was like, of course this is going down when I'm here.
Well, so your wife still helps you out all the time?
She does when I need. I mean, I actually hired a young kid out of Kansas City a year ago as my sous chef, and he's moving here to Arizona in October. You know, I take him everywhere with me. He's been a huge help. My wife, I've learned when to ask for. You know, she's already got her own job, and you know, it's a lot to double on. So, you know, when I really need it, I'll take it. And then when it's places like Miami and London, she's asking to come. So.
Nice.
Well, for someone that learned how to cook at home, you seem to know a lot about how fine dining works, sous chef.
Well, so how that kind of all came together was, you know, before the cannabis thing started, I was those first 2 years of being a chef after Master Chef. What I did in Canada was I actually reached out to celebrity chefs in the US, and I said, would you like to come up to Canada and do an event in these 3 cities? I'll go promote it, sell it. I just like to be able to work with you in the kitchen. And
that's
so
the way to do it.
So that's how, because I was like, I'm too old to become a well-known chef. I was 31. So my plan was like, what am I going to do with this? So I was doing these supper clubs, and, you know, when the cannabis thing took off, all of a sudden those chefs I was reaching out to previously were now reaching out to me saying, hey, I want to come and learn how to cook with cannabis and come do one of these events or come to my city. So it was a real full circle moment. You know, I mean, had I started at 15, I think I could have been light years ahead, you know, but
yeah. Were you infusing it with the glazes mostly?
Yeah. So the way I go about doing it, we dose each guest individually based on your own tolerance level, right? So we offer a scale 1 to 5, 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, 25, 50, and 100. How I'm able to sort of execute that is if I've got a 4-course menu, each course has one infused component. So let's just say the first course is a salad, and I've got a vinaigrette that I'm going to infuse. I'm going to make that 3 times. I'm going to make it once with no cannabis. I'm going to make it once with 2 milligrams per tablespoon, and then once with 5 milligrams. And then for every course, I'll do that.
Interesting.
So that'll
before the night of.
Yeah, before the night of. So that's part of my prep. So, you know, and then what I have to do before you guys sit down, because I don't take your dose until you're there. So I know nothing about the people coming in, but I come up with a plan beforehand. Okay, how am I going to serve all my 5 milligram people throughout 4 courses, right? Well, I'm going to do 2.5 at the start and 2.5 at the end, and some CBD in the middle. So how am I going to do my 100 milligrams? I'm not just going to go 25, 25, 25, right? Because the way I almost want it to feel kind of like not a roller coaster, because that could be scary, but like just a little wavy, right? I want to bring you up and then have you come down, and then when you get home, I want it to hit you again. So usually my first course and then dessert will be the highest dosed in the menu, and then really sort of playing on the terpenes from, you know, in between those to carry the experience you're having.
So is there like any science to like the particular types of cannabis to certain types of food, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the industry has taught us these terms indica, sativa, right?
Yeah.
They're bullshit. They do not mean what the industry has taught us. They're categories to help sell weed to people who don't know anything about it, right? So why are you cleaning your house on the sativas and sitting on the couch with Cheetos with indicas? It's the terpenes within it. So terpenes aren't just a flavor and aroma, but they're responsible for the effects that we feel. And terpene compounds are identically found in plants, fruits, and herbs.
Okay.
Right. So the predominant terpene in an indica is called myrcene, right? It's responsible for the sedative effects. It's what gives you the munchies. That's also found in mangoes, lemongrass, hops. So if you were to eat a mango 40 minutes before smoking your first joint, that mango will increase the effects of the cannabinoids.
Interesting.
Right? Like if you've ever had a couple beers and then you smoke that first joint, you get really lightheaded, a little spinny, right? That's what we call an entourage effect. That's a combination of the terpenes and the hops reacting with the cannabinoids. So when I'm building my menus, I'm not focused about how much THC I can put in. It's what are the terpenes in the strains I'm working with, and how do they pair with the terpenes in the plants, fruits, and herbs in the ingredients, right?
Okay.
So I don't want to zone everyone out in course 1 and give them, you know, have them not talking that. I want to get everyone chatty and energetic and pick the energy up. And there'll always be one point in the dinner where it goes dead silent, and it's kind of when it's starting to creep into everyone. And
so, so this kind of pattern that you've kind of made kind of throughout the time, was that kind of just learning with just trying things out and seeing what happens, or?
Yeah, it was trial and error. I mean, when I first started, I was using what we would call isolates. So when you isolate THC on its own in a tincture bottle, you can eyedrop on top of every plate exactly the amount of cannabis you want in there. Now, I felt that was kind of lip syncing, right? If I wanted to be taken serious as like a real cannabis chef, I was going to have to start cooking full spectrum, which is using all particles of the plant. You know, there's a lot more room for mistakes. There's a lot of math involved. And then, of course, that was the course in high school. I was smoking weed in the parking lot instead of going to, right? So,
yeah,
you know, damn, all of a sudden I need those formulas. But, yeah.
Well, what about people come in, you 20,000 people, allergies?
Yeah.
You had to have had some issues here and there.
Well, again,
no nut allergies. No,
we, you know what, we take that ahead of time. So we provide a plant-based option for everyone. So, you know, before you come, we'll send out an email asking for any dietary or allergy restrictions, and we can accommodate those.
Well, I didn't tell you mine, and I didn't have any issues. And I was like, how did he know?
What was your?
I have a very bad gluten intolerance.
Okay.
And I had no issue with your food. And I didn't tell you because I won't die.
Yeah.
But my insides give out. And I was like, I'm just not going to tell them if I shit my pants tonight, I shit my pants. So, and I didn't. So I was like, whoa, what is this guy doing back there?
Stop scooting that way.
Sorry. I was like, what is this guy doing that he figured out how to cook without gluten or whatever?
You know, if you tell us ahead of time.
I didn't know.
I know, but I'm just saying, if any guest is going to come to a dinner, you tell us ahead of time, you're not being a burden. If you show up and are like, yeah, I'm a vegan, I'll be like,
but I've been wanting to ask you, like, do you not cook with gluten? Like, I had no
I actually forget the menu, so I don't really.
Oh, okay. Well, there was a dish with pork that seemed like it had a breading around it. I should have written it down. The fact that you're doing the infusion and you're also running a restaurant is impressive, because from someone that's ran a bunch of restaurants, it's hard. And then now you're throwing a curveball in there and you're doing this whole other thing.
Well, yeah, it's honestly, it's kind of funny. Like, I don't ever want to come off like I'm complaining, but like, be careful what you wish for. Because when I thought of the Nomad Cook, and I was like, hey, why don't chefs tour like a musician or a comedian? How cool would that be? Now, I was in Vancouver wanting to go to Toronto. I never dreamed I'd cook in Chicago and New York and London and Paris. Like, it's fucking wild.
That's
right?
pretty cool.
Yeah, the logistics of that. Like, oh, I'm going to show up in a random country and I'm going to have a fork and a knife at everyone's table and a plate and a napkin and a cup.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you know, I mean, so I travel with 500 pounds of gear. Right,
I was gonna ask, because that's a lot of stuff.
Two coolers, a giant trunk, and then my sous chef will have stuff. So we'll rent plates and tables and chairs if we have to in places. Yeah. I look for Airbnbs that can seat 10 to start with, so I don't have to rent that much. But yeah, I think a lot of people sometimes, our tickets are expensive. I wish I could sell a ticket for $100. A lot more people would be able to attend. But we sell our tickets for $200, and sometimes people get upset, and I'm like, you know, I travel with 500 pounds of gear. I got to book flights. I got to get a car. I got to book Airbnb, a house. Everything. I got to run ads on social media. Like, hey, the day this isn't a restaurant and you can go in there and a la carte go, I want this and this, and your bill's $75, I will feel so proud, because I think we'll have contributed to getting to that point.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, it's a lot. Moving a fucking restaurant city to city.
That's why I you put off an air of you've worked in restaurants your whole life, like, because it went that smooth. Everything went very smooth.
You know, I was a bartender, right? Okay. I served, right? So I've got serving in that, experience, right? And so I got it. But I never worked back of house. I never worked in the kitchen, and you know, that was, I had, at the very beginning of this, I had an opportunity to go cook in the James Beard House in New York. My mentor, Chef Silvio Barban, who's extremely well-known Italian chef, brought me as just a helper. And like, I've never worked in restaurants. So I remember at one time, someone asked me to get something, and I was like, okay. And I turned around the corner, I pulled my phone out, and I'm like, Googling, what is this?
That's what you do.
Because I don't want to look like an idiot and be like, what?
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, the reason I'm the Nomad Cook and not the Nomad Chef was when I first sort of kicked this off, another chef said to me, he says, just because you're on a reality show doesn't mean you're a chef. And I said, okay, you know what? Fair enough. You know, I definitely consider myself a chef now.
I think once you get a James Beard for Cannabis Infused dinners, then we can call you a chef.
Okay. Deal.
I hate to set the bar that high.
Okay. No, let's do it.
I'm just kidding.
No, it's yeah. So,
but that makes sense. I get why you call yourself Nomad.
Yeah. So that's, you know, and then I just wanted this to be inviting to everyone. You know, to me, the Nomad Cook was going to be a brand, right? I wanted to create culinary products for people. Now, this is way too niche. I'm very early with this, and now I kind of look at it and go, okay, I can set the groundwork for how this can be done safely and open the door for the next generation of chefs so they can do this in restaurants. That's how I'll contribute. So
what do you think is the next step to getting there?
Well, the first we got to do is demonstrate that this can be done safely. And so we need to set some standards on how we go about, you know, preparing, cooking, serving. So I've gone ahead and created an online course to train, you know, inspiring chefs, home cooks, or anyone just wants to know about cannabis. Oh yeah, the real fundamentals on how to do this.
To take that course, how does it work? You just go to your Nomad.
Yeah, you can just go to the website, or it's the nomadcook.teachable.com, and you can log on there and you take it at your own pace. And
how many days? How many hours?
I mean, if you sat down front to end, maybe 10 or 12 hours, right? But you could take it at your own pace, right? Like it's broken down into 4 sections. We talk about the cannabis plant. We talk about the endocannabinoid system. So that's what's in our bodies that's reacting to cannabis when we ingest it. Like it's not going to be super scientific, but let's understand at least the basics of what's going on when you're ingesting cannabis.
Yeah.
We teach about the terpenes, the cannabinoids, right? What are the things that are coming out of this plant that are making us high and making us feel certain ways? And then we dive into safety. So a big section on, safety practices, creating a service plan, having cannabis consent, right? Some stuff that kind of seems like mundane, but again, just lay these kind of rules out, and then we dive into what equipment to use and what methods to make your extractions.
I think you were telling me earlier before we started that this course is certified, or
yeah. So we're in the process right now with the American Culinary Federation is making this the standardized certification course. So
nice.
I just wrapped up my first education tour where we did 2 classes in Boston and then Hartford, Jersey City, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and then we finished in Richmond. So,
and you can do it online also.
Yeah, you can do it online. I am, with the uphill battle, cannabis can't market the way any other brands do. So right now it's like, how do I get this course out there? Well, I'm going to go to every single state and host an in-person workshop. So anyone who comes and sits for that hour lecture will sign you up for the course. The course is $245, but if you come to our in-person workshop for $90, you're going to get 1 hour with me, hearing it firsthand, and then you can go and take the course. So, it's the very beginning. We're at the bottom of the hill. I have kind of laid out what I need to do to get this done. And,
so are you doing all this stuff yourself, or do you have like a marketing team, or?
I do it all myself.
Nice.
I mean,
you're like me.
Yeah, it's funny because at the end of last year, I kind of hit a wall. I remember being in Little Rock, Arkansas, and being like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Right? I needed
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and then so I was like, okay, I built this. Where is the exit plan with this? And that's what led me to the education. And it's kind of funny because now I've just doubled my workload. But at least now here's the plan. Since bringing Avery on, he's this young kid I hired. He's 20 years old. I didn't know how old he was at the time, but he came and worked for me in Kansas City. He had never traveled anywhere outside of the state, really. So when I was like, he came work that first shift for me, I was looking for someone young who didn't have any commitments, didn't have a girlfriend, right? And hey, do you want to travel around the US? I can't pay you a lot, but you're going to meet a ton of celebrity chefs. You're going to have a ton of experiences, and talk about someone who like fucking gets it, gets like the first night of being like, chef, can I do anything before I go to bed for you? And like, no, you don't. But the fact you just asked that, like, very,
it's nice to have someone like that for sure.
The opportunity he has in front of him. I said to him, like, you're going to meet a ton of other chefs. And if another opportunity comes along, like, don't feel you're obligated to stay with me. Like, this is what I'm going to offer to you. I'm going to teach you something, and then someone else is going to teach you something. Right. So he's super excited to move here to Arizona. I'm like, I don't want him living in Old Town, so I'm like trying to find him an area to be, because he's going to be 20 coming out of Kansas City, and like his head's
overwhelming.
Because everyone's like, oh, Arizona's or Phoenix going to eat him alive, and I'm like, no, I'm going to be there to mentor him through this, and like, listen, make your mistakes. That's how you grow. Have your fun, but I feel confident.
So then you can have him go do dinners.
Well, what I get him to do is do my prep. Right. Set the room up, clean up at the end of the night. Like, he's there to help do everything. Right.
And he's watching you. So.
Yeah, exactly. Cause he said to me, like, I'd love to do a pop-up one day. And I said, okay, you know what? We'll do that. I'll go and I'll sell a room out for you. Right. You put a menu together and we'll sell tickets. It's $75. We'll set the bar low of, people kind of coming in and like not expecting, a 7-course fine dining meal, but an experience, right? So
here in Arizona, do you do them kind of all over, or is there?
So part of the reason why I'm in 46 cities is the first year I moved here, I had a contract with Harvest or True Leaf, and we did bud tender dinners every month. 2022 rolls around, and the marketing budgets completely dried up. Right, everyone was afraid of a recession. No one was spending money. And I couldn't sell a ticket here in Arizona. It was so odd. I kept trying and I would get like 8 people. And so I was like, okay, I guess I have to go everywhere else. We almost left Arizona this year.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm not working at home. This is driving me nuts. And then I changed the way I was doing my ads on Instagram, and I've sold out. Like I'm now doing 2 a month here in Arizona or in Phoenix. But yeah, it's selling better than anywhere else in the country now.
So was it just like the first ads just weren't getting any like engagement or?
Yeah, I guess, you know, and a lot of people that would just kind of ask, and again, the ticket price is a little high, but you know,
put it in front of the right people.
Maybe just the right people, word of mouth. You know, we're getting a lot of people now like, hey, I heard it from someone, and that. You know, I found a Reddit post about a mom who brought her son, and she had posted, this was the best thing that's ever brought them together. Right. And I was like, that's the coolest fucking thing ever.
I would love if my dad would come with me.
So awesome. Here's a good story is, you know, how I met my wife was the very first event I ever did on my own in the US was in San Francisco. So I had just said, fuck it, I'm going to go. I didn't have a visa. You guys are guarding the wrong border. It's us Canadians coming in. And
there's a lot of Canadians here in Arizona.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
But I'd sold that first event out, right? And so I wanted to celebrate. I'd never been to San Francisco before. I'd never been to a Michelin star restaurant. So I was like, I'm going to go an extra day early, and I'm going to get on Hinge, and I'm going to find a girl, and I'm just going to go out and have this really nice dinner. And my friends are like, you're taking a Hinge date to a 2 Michelin star restaurant? And I was like, this is for me, okay? And so connected with this girl, and, you know, it ended up being my wife. So
that's
awesome.
Fucking cool.
And she was going to cancel the night before, but she didn't because it was a 2 Michelin starred restaurant.
Yeah, there it is.
You know, and yeah, so it.
They always say yes when I say a nice restaurant.
Right, yeah. So, you know, we're dating. I bring her up to Canada. Valentine's Day, I'm working with a vegan chef, and we do a Valentine's vegan menu, right? All plant-based. And I bring Holly up to Canada, and my mom's like, her partner's name is Pete. She goes, me and Pete are going to come to this dinner, but we're not going to do any cannabis. I was like, cool, Mom. Come meet Holly. Well, sometimes the peer pressure of the room gets to you. My mom was like, I want to try. Right? My mom's like, I'll do a 1. I was like, whoa, okay, Mom. All right. You know,
it's a start.
Me and my wife, we can handle our tolerance, right? But my mom's like, I'm going to do a 1. Halfway through the dinner, my mom walks up to me. She's like, and I could just see like, oh, my mom is stoned right now. My mom doesn't use cannabis, and she sits at the table. Anyways, the next day she calls me and she's like, I'm so embarrassed. I could not talk. I sat there the whole night quiet.
That's funny.
I said, no, Holly loved you. And she's like, yeah, on the drive home, do you ever realize how many lights are on the Alex Fraser Bridge? I said, no, Mom, but you did last night for sure.
That's good.
Yeah. So
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
So what are your what do you is it just something different every single time, or like is there particular things that you like kind of gravitate towards?
Yeah, I mean, I'll run a menu for 10 weeks, and sometimes things will change, you know, because I'm traveling everywhere. You know, I try and cook what's local and fresh, but we're also prepping 80% before we get to places. So you know, a lot of stuff is done ahead of time, and
so it's holiday season coming up, and sometimes I don't go home for Thanksgiving. Are you doing a Thanksgiving dinner?
Yes, we are. And so I have not done private dinners in 4 years. Like I used to do some bachelorette parties and stuff, and I've just been focusing on being a nomad, but I want to start working at home more, right? So I'm actually taking private bookings for people from December 15th to 23rd. I'll come into your house and give you the...
What if it's just me?
Hey man, you can just come over for dinner and
no. So
come for
that's what I was
Thanksgiving.
actually asking.
Yeah.
So can I buy 1 ticket and go get Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah, you can just come for Thanksgiving.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
When I was in the Army, I'd be you know, stationed here or there, and you're by yourself, and maybe some good Samaritan would say, If you don't have anyone here, come have dinner with us. And I wish I could have just gone online and bought a ticket to a cannabis dinner.
You come for Thanksgiving, my man. Canadian Thanksgiving is the first the first Monday of October.
Oh, okay.
Right. And that's mainly because of our harvest time, because winter comes a lot sooner.
Who
right?
had Thanksgiving first, us or the Canadians?
Probably you guys.
Oh, you copycats.
Yeah.
So we celebrate Thanksgiving. It's the Pilgrims and
it's the exact same thing. There's a couple dishes that are a little different, but like as a Canadian, I always celebrated American Thanksgiving. And when I say that, I mean I booked work off and I sat at home and I watched football.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, I love it. And since moving here, we don't celebrate American or Canadian Thanksgiving. It's the American one. And like I got, my mom's gonna come down and cool. I fully embrace that holiday here.
But you have a dinner planned?
Yes.
For here in Scottsdale?
Yeah.
Cool. It's not sold out yet?
No, we got you.
Okay, so what's on the menu?
I do this dish. It's a turkey ballantine. So I take the skin of the turkey and we'll lay it out. And then I'll take some turkey breast, sort of tenderize it and spread it out on top of the skin.
Is this Thanksgiving Day?
This is Thanksgiving. And then
turkey ballantine?
Yeah. And then we're going to grind up the turkey meat, right? The dark meat, and then play that as a ground on top of the breast. And then I'm going to put a layer of stuffing, and then I'm going to roll it into a tube form.
What's that called when you do that?
A ballantine.
That's called a ballantine?
Yeah.
What's the other one I always see?
Roulade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So ballantine is because I'm using the skin as the casing. Because what I'll do is I'll sous vide it in a water bath to cook it to the right temperature, and then I'll pop it in the oven and crisp the skin up.
You can do that with a bird? You can sous vide a bird?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And then I'll do an infused cranberry gravy on it.
Wow. No gluten?
No gluten.
Are you using cranberries instead of flour?
Yeah.
Amazing.
We got you.
Okay, this is Thanksgiving Day?
This is Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving Day you're doing this?
Thanksgiving Day, yes.
And there's tickets on sale right now?
Well, there's the family dinner, and then we've got our
that's the family dinner.
That's our family dinner on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
But it'll be the weekend after it. We'll be doing because I'm in Boston the week before. Yeah, so the weekend after Thanksgiving, we've got our
your normal
Phoenix come.
You do 2 a month, and you're going to do one that's Thanksgiving themed.
One that's Thanksgiving themed.
Cool.
So yeah, so if the best way to find our dinners is follow me on Instagram. That's actually where I post everything. You can't go Google our event. You have to reach out to us directly. We got to.
And your Instagram's the
Nomad Cook. Nomad Cook.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but yeah.
Awesome stuff. Okay, well, I don't know. Me and Jerome wanted to just have you in here and talk about it. Put it out there. I have a lot of I have fine dining background, so I have a lot of friends in this. Shout out Kerry. I know he's watching. He's gonna be like, oh, he's gonna sign up for a meal in one of your states. But
and I'm also looking for people that want to collaborate. So one of the cool things that we did here in Phoenix, and we just didn't have a good turnout, was I rented McDonald's Ranch, right? And they've got that little cowboy corral of like a movie set, and we did our dinner there, and everyone dressed up as cowboys and came. Cool. And I remember I was trying to partner actually with one of the bars in Old Town, because I was like, why don't we get a party bus to bring everyone from Old Town to this dinner, and then we'll send them back to your bar. It just never panned out.
It sounds like a bad idea, just because of the alcohol aspect.
I mean, maybe it was a good thing it didn't happen, but I'm looking to put on experiences, right? Like you have here locally Cloth and Flame. It does a lot of those cool dining experiences. They even do a cannabis series, Green Verde or something. Elevate. Yeah. So that was actually the first cannabis dinner I ever attended. Was 2 years ago. Because I had never gone to another Cannabis Chef's event.
That's here in town.
So yeah, Cloth and Flame, they do stuff. I mean, it's
same way as you.
No, it's a straight. No, they rent like spaces, like
big events, then
like huge events. Yeah, like 200-person long table.
I think we could fit 200 people here in Jerome's house.
Right.
Look at the size of his backyard.
In the backyard, yeah.
Well, we also with Harvest a couple years ago, they rented out this event hall down on Jefferson, and they hired me to come, and I set up food stations. So I had a taco cart outside. I had a poutine station inside, a snow cone area. So you would free flow around. They had dab stations and joints, and then you would come up to the taco stand
on Jefferson.
Yeah, and you would make your own taco, and then our chef would infuse it for you. So it was one of the coolest events we did because it was like really like, again, people got a ticket to it and they could smoke all the weed they want. Vendors were there giving samples away and that. So, you know, there's a lot more out there that we can do other than just sit down for a dinner.
Yeah.
You know, I'm speaking with a couple athletes now about creating meals with a purpose, right? There's some bodybuilders, Major League Baseball players. Like,
Yeah, because you could do just a CBD.
we can do CBD, pair it with the right terpenes, and create a dish that's about recovery, right? Like, here's something to have 2 hours before you go to bed to help give you that 8 hours sleep, make you feel fresh and rejuvenated in the morning. So, you know, this is just the spirit of the tip. It's the newest frontier in the culinary world. And, you know, it's really cool to be at the forefront of something with no path in front and just kind of like chopping down, making away, and
being creative. It's good stuff.
you know, and yeah. So I'm grateful. And, you know, I saw your guys' podcast pop up in my feed one day, and I just felt I hadn't made the effort to connect with enough people in the city I live in, and then I complain that no one comes to my events.
Well,
So,
I think I brought it up to like a few different people, and just saying like cannabis chef, people like it immediately catches some interest in terms of just like, what is that? Like, where do they do this? Like, how have I, like, I've always wanted to go to one of these.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting, just telling people that, like, even this just a conversation we had before this, I talked to one of my friends, and he's like, where is this? He's like, send me his Instagram. So yeah, I think it's just getting your name out there and just letting people know about it. And
well, that's what I'm
growing
seeing
from
with
there.
my ads now. People are saying like, oh, I've seen your ad now like for the last couple of months, and now the time is lined up for us to be able to come. And, you know, by offering 2 seatings a month of 20 people, it you know, gives people flexibility on their dates. And you know, next year my plan is like, I only want to tour 3 times instead of doing 2 weeks of every month and going in and out. I'm going to tour more like a band would, and I'm going to go for 4 weeks in February, July, and November. Otherwise, I want to be here.
Yeah, it's tough being on the road.
Right? Like, I have loved getting to see this country. I feel like I understand it a lot more. I understand the people. I've learned to love this country a lot more being here.
Yeah.
Right? This is an amazing opportunity. But, you know, I want to work at home a little more.
So all the cities you travel to, would you say Scottsdale's the best?
Yeah, but I don't travel here, so it's kind of like it's.
What do you mean you don't travel here?
Well, because I live here.
You don't. Do you ever go out? Where do you like to eat around here?
See, that's
you're not eating at home.
that, and again, this is part of my problem is because I'm on the road constantly. When I come home, I just stay home. So I complain about having no friends here, but then I put no effort into going out and making no friends.
Yeah,
right?
That's all right.
So
well, at least you come home. The weather, you can't beat
well,
it.
so my first year here, I was getting seasonal depression from the sun. It was too much because Vancouver's like Seattle, 8 months of rain.
Yeah.
But once I started traveling so much, like last night, getting on the plane, knowing I'm in shorts and flip flops today, right? I like that. I really look forward to.
That's a great feeling.
Golfing in the summertime for $50 at the most expensive courses. You know, get up at 5 a.m. So I've learned the things to love about being here, and now I just want to make more of an effort to make some connections. And
So do you golf around here? What's your favorite golf course?
Weekopah.
Weekopah's your favorite?
Yeah.
Awesome golf course.
Love Weekopah. I
golfed it not
Rancho Manana to make myself feel better. So I go
What's
there.
your handicap?
I'm like a 16, 15. So
Okay, I can keep up.
yeah.
Cool. We'll have to golf.
Let's play around. I would love that. Yeah.
All right. The weather's good now.
I'll bring
it's
the weed.
miserable. Okay, fair. I golf better when I'm high.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Jerome?
No, I actually one last thing. Do you ever do like weddings, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, things
so
like that?
I've done a couple of bachelorette parties here. You know, mostly the Canadians that know me that will come here to have their bachelorette parties reach out and like, hey, can we get you? And
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
many Canadian bachelor parties.
I feel like that'd be an interesting thing for that type of
Yeah.
celebration.
But it's funny because like if I'm gonna do a bachelorette party, I want night one, not the last night. Because like I've done a couple last night bachelorette parties. They're all in pajamas. They're hungover. They're not. The fun level is down.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So give me night one when they're all like, woo. But even a wedding, would
night
do it.
one's more of an uppers.
It would be interesting at a wedding, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just everybody.
Oh my god, that would be good.
Yeah.
No, I think you should really go after the bachelorette market here in town because I hate to give Nashville this. I think Nashville's like number 1, but I think we're number 2 for Bachelorette.
Yeah.
But like they love us here.
Yeah.
These parties.
Oh,
these
yeah.
There's a
Bachelorette-
lot of them.
Bachelor
There's a lot of
parties.
volume, and there's a lot of people that specifically plan these.
Well, and the thing again, you know, I've reached out to the Clarendon Hotel a couple times. So there's a cannabis hotel here in Arizona. You can order weed to your room, like room service. You can smoke in your room.
You can buy it there.
Yeah. Right. You can smoke in your room. You can smoke on the
How
rooftop.
many rooms do they have? Do you know?
Interesting.
Just like best guess, 50.
36 to 50,
Okay, all
maybe. It's kind of like a college hotel, but I've reached out to them in the past and I'm like, hey, I don't know if you guys know who I am, but like I have a massive following in Canada. These 100,000 Canadians come here every single winter. We should work together. And they're like, nah, that's not our base. And I'm like,
It really is.
It is your. It's the dudes coming down to party and want to stay in a cannabis hotel. It's not the family of 4 who's going to get room 420. And so, you know, there's lots of incentives down here for people to come here, and you know that's why I also think I don't have to travel as much if I put more effort into letting people know.
100%. The tourism here is so good that
Yeah.
you should never have to travel.
No,
you would need 3 more chefs to help
Yeah.
you keep up with
Yeah.
the amount.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona, like bring me to your house. Hey, bring back the dinner party.
hit him up. We'll throw up his Instagram on here.
He's
and,
awesome, you guys. It's amazing.
And he's a hell of a
appreciate
chef.
that.
So, well, thanks for coming on, man. It's great having a conversation with you. Great learning about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we learned some stuff today, and I hope everyone reaches out to him. And if you guys have any questions, just leave some messages on our Instagram, and we'll get them to him, okay?
Yeah. Appreciate
Thanks
you guys.
again.
All right.
Nice.
See you guys.